Hello, welcome to this YouTube live. This is going to be a yoga class, and we are leading a sequence through a series of postures and practices to arrive at balances. So initially eagle, Garudasana, and then going to try and see if we can actually flow eagle into Viabhadrasana III or Tolasana, Warrior 3, or the scales, as it's known as. So it's reasonably strong practice, quite a sustained practice, and possibly a little bit more advanced than many of the practices on the shorter videos on the channel. But I hope everybody who watches the sequence will enjoy it. And we're going to come down and begin by lying on the back on the mat. So let's roll down through the length of the spine, creating a little bit of space between the vertebrae as we draw down towards the floor. And then let's open the arms out in line with the shoulder joints. And from here, ideally leading the twisting action from the spine itself, seeing if you can move through the tailbone, into the sacrum, through the vertebrae in the back of the waist, the lumbar spine, on through the vertebrae in the rib cage, or on your exhalation there. And then with the inhalation, flowing back again through the spine in the rib cage, through the spine in the back of the ribs, and then through the waist, sacrum, tailbone, and the legs coming right back up and into the center. And then as we're ready again, let's breathe out to flow the tailbone over towards the left side this time, and the sacrum follows, the next bone up, and then the vertebrae through the waist coming over, and then again on the inhalation flowing back towards the center. So I aim to use quite a lot of strength around my rib cage and with my breastbone pressing towards my spine on the returns, so that I'm not putting a lot of pressure into my head and exertion into the muscles of the neck. So keeping neck tension down, it tends to creep up on us, no matter almost what we do, neck tension. So just as little as neck tension as possible, trying to find a way through in the yoga practice. So let's allow this twist to work through once more in both directions. So the exhalation to flow across towards the right, head and neck can always flow in the opposite direction. And then again, flowing back in towards the center, and then on the exhalation, head and neck flowing through towards the other side, and then once again on the inhalation, flowing center. So perhaps not a bad idea just to bring the legs in and a little bit release around the lower back in all directions, and then circling in the opposite direction as well. Just a little bit of letting go. And then from there again, we can replace the legs to the mat, the feet to the mat, and we can lift the hips up and replace the pelvis to the mat. And we could always lift the ribs up, lengthen the waist out of the hips, replacing the ribs and the shoulders to the mat, and then supporting the weight of the head. Let's lengthen up and back like that. And here we're going to open the arms towards the sides and taking the right leg, just crossing the right leg directly over the left leg. And from here, we're going to think about coming into a spinal twist. So another twist, but this time a held twist. And it should be that the sense of opening and lengthening in the muscles in the outer thigh is quite considerably stronger in this twist with the legs crossed than it was with the legs parallel and flowing. Now, I tend to just come into the twist to look away. The spinal mobility could take me quite far, but I feel the flexibility in the muscles on the outside of the thigh already coming into the first levels of resistance here at this relatively soft twist stage. And so I usually just choose to stop at that point where I feel the first resistance and breathe. I'll tend to try to breathe in, creating space through the back of the body. So creating space through the back of the throat, creating space into the back of the rib cage. And seeing if I can create space on through into the back of the hips and to between the sitting bones. And then with the exhalations, I try to relax as much as possible through the spine, especially the back of the spine, and then really letting go into the outside of the hip and the outer thigh. And you could always put a little bit of pressure into that left arm to keep the right shoulder down and back and the right ribs down and back. And that will tend to give a much more intense position than otherwise. So let's just breathe here. A last couple of rounds of the breath, keeping the back of the neck soft and relaxed. And then as you're ready again, we're going to come back towards the center. So engaging, hollowing, depressing in the lower abdomen, drawing the navel to the spine, hugging the breastbone back to the spine. So again, pulling back with as little tension as possible through the legs and the neck. And as we come back, we're going to retain this position of the legs crossed at the thigh bone and bringing the legs up and towards us. And where I'm reasonably flexible for this particular position, I try to keep both sides of my waist quite long, and I try to keep the tailbone not going to be in contact with the floor 100%, but as close to the contact with the floor as possible. So if you can get into this long spine with the legs pretty close towards the front of the body, then that's helpful, useful. But if the equation is a lot more that the legs, if you're going to get the legs close to you, that you need to release the base of the spine away from the mat, then this is going to be a more effective opening than the legs miles away, but the tailbone is down. So the aim is really to try and get the legs pretty close to the abdomen to begin to open up through the outer thigh. Now, it is sometimes as well possible and indeed useful to pop a yoga strap underneath the back of the underknee here. And I personally always keep the upper arms close to the floor in a position like this, the back of the neck long and released, just breathing away. Coming back to the idea of the breath filling the back of the throat, the back of the ribs, the back of the waist. Might feel a little bit of space open up between the sitting bones on the inhalations. And then with the exhalations, relaxing the spine towards the mat, sacrum, tailbone, broadening in the hips, just like that. So we've been in the supine half eagle, which is where we are, for a few breaths now. And we might just think about popping that strap to the side. And we're going to draw the right leg up. So now eventually we're going to come into opening the hamstrings through the back of the right thigh here. But on the way through, we have the opportunity of visiting Viabhadrasana, the sleeping yogi pose. And with this, it's very helpful again for opening up the outer thigh and into the deep rotators in the back of the hip, so often just a shorthand referred to as the glutes or gluteal muscles. But they're all the deep rotators, of which there are many. Now, the movement here of the leg coming towards us, we really need to, you might be able to see there, as I turn my thigh bone at the hip joint out, I get that little bit more space and the leg comes towards me. Now, this is a tricky one. And I remember when I first started doing Garudasana, I thought, well, I think bone is meeting bone here. I don't think this is ever going to go any further. Now, it's gone quite a lot further. We're not going to really push it today because we're just opening in this way in order to assist opening a little bit through the hamstrings here. And I'm just trying to open and free, especially the inside of my hip joint, lifting the thigh bone a little bit out of the hip joint in a very gentle way, and then letting the leg lengthen towards me. So as I open the inside thigh, the funny thing is that the outer thigh begins to open. I remember to keep my neck relaxed and avoid overarching in my spine. and the heel essentially keeps aiming towards the crown of the head. So if the leg's way off over here somewhere, it's of limited usefulness, I think. Now from here, we're going to, again, keep this outward rotation going a little bit there in the inside of the hip joint. And remembering that we're trying to stretch and open muscles here. So just sort of pushing the foot off any old wear doesn't really hit the spot. Aiming to hit the spot, we actually need to produce the movement through the region that we're trying to lengthen, not just push the foot into a region that didn't even belong to the body, but belonged to the air around us. So yoga very much about connecting, through our own body, rather than believing that space somewhere else is so much better than the space right in here. So stick with the space right in here, but you're right in here, not my right in here. And see where you get. So now we're going to pop if it feels like a good idea. So if you're reaching up, stressing and straining, especially stressing and straining in the back of the neck, how about just popping the yoga strap? Or you could use a resistance band if you haven't got a strap, or you could use anything, scarf, a tie of some description. Just there to support the weight of the leg. So rather than yanking and pulling it, just to support the weight of the leg. Never a bad idea to just soften the leg a tiny little bit. And then to reach into that lengthening again. Now, if it's possible to lengthen the lower leg without losing the opening through the back of the upper leg, lengthening that lower leg away, but often lengthening the lower leg does diminish opening the back of the thigh. So now we might be gradually coming up to a point where we feel ready to release this hamstring opening position, and as a result, down the leg comes, and here we can just circle the leg at the hip joint, just relax it again. And then from there, let's just flow that leg away from us. In fact, we can flow both legs away from us, and how that we have a great big stretch upwards and downwards through the body, just lengthening again. So then, of course, the next thing that's going to happen is that we're heading off through that same little sequence of positions to the other side. So off we go. Let's, again, align the spine. So just feeling that you've got space through your spine, and weight even, right hip, left hip, ribs, shoulders, spine relaxed. And then, from out of that basic ease and set up, we're just going to cross this time the left leg over the right leg. Now it could be, I didn't say this on the first slide, but it could be that if you have a little bit of support for the twist as you move over, so you put perhaps a break or a block underneath this left foot, you might feel that it's more bearable, because this can be quite intense for some people, especially if you do a lot of athletics and stuff. It can get quite tight through the iliotibial tract here on the outsides of the thigh. But just in general, our bodies tend to tighten up quite a lot in this region and right through into the breadths across the back of the pelvis. So breathing here, and again, the idea of keeping this time the left ribs dropping back. You can put a bit of pressure into your right arm to keep that left shoulder down, and turn the head and neck in the opposite direction there. And just working in those positions where you feel quite an effective opening there through the outside of the thigh and the hip, rather than just twisting with the spine, which is mobility, and missing opening up the flexibility in the thigh. So now, with me chattering away, we've been here for a little while. Just remembering to really breathe So on those exhalations, you can often feel the body does just let go a little bit. Yeah. So now from here, how about we're coming back to the center so we can hug the breastbone towards the spine. We can draw the navel to the spine, hollow back in the lower abdomen, and just coming all the way back to the center. And I will pretty much always, as I return from a twist, give my body a moment or two to just simply settle, to recalibrate after the twist. The twists are so helpful for realigning the body, resetting the body, just giving them a moment or two to actually bed in, as one might say. So now from here, how about we come into our supine Hakika, our Supta Ardha Garudasana. And, you know, as I bring my legs through, I really deliberately release through the inside legs to bring the knees forwards through towards my breastbone as I can. And the same is on the first side. I am aiming to keep both sides of my waist as long as possible, and the tailbone as close to the mat as possible as I hug the legs down. And again, I do feel that I get the best opener here as I use the shins rather to anchor the hands. Sometimes flexing the feet is useful. Now, as we also talked about on the first side, we might be just bringing the legs a lot closer. Or we might be thinking that it just doesn't work, we're so far away and the rest of the back is so full of tension reaching through. It really is not helpful. So that tension in the back of the neck, back of the shoulders is only going to delay and inhibit beginning to really open through the outer thighs back. So we can always just instead use the strap, holding the strap deep into the shoulder joints and keeping the upper body quite nice and relaxed, as relaxed as you possibly can. So again, here are exhalations. Will be the moments when we probably feel a little bit of releasing into that stretch that we're opening. Yeah. Inhalations very useful for expanding into spaces where we feel the tension, and then breathing out, and so letting go around that point of tension. So then, as we're ready from there, we can release our straps, or might just be releasing the legs from where we're holding them. And it's in a gentle and a slow way that we bring this top leg up. So, you know, really with stretches, the more slowly we move, the more likely we're going to open an effective stretch. Yeah? So, like this. So once again, I'm aiming to keep my tailbone anchored to the floor. It may be to get some movement, you have to lift the tailbone away. But once you've got that, seeing if you can rotate the thigh bone in the hip joint and just dropping the tailbone back to the mat as much as possible. Now, it might not drop back to the mat, but as much as possible dropping it back towards the mat. And that's very much how I got going with Viabhadrasana, where I'm probably starting like about here somewhere. And then I'd have to release the tailbone off the mat to get any movement. And then I try to release in my hip joint and then try and anchor the lower back to the mat. Because if the hips come with the leg, there's not a lot of opening in the muscles between the hip and the leg, which includes the iliotibial tract and the hamstrings. So, you know, you try to keep dropping the hips back, but it's important as well to get some mobilization in order to begin to open here. So if you're absolutely static, the lack of mobilization is going to be also ineffective. So it's this constant play. And really, don't be afraid of just exploring when you can open, maybe when you can release or you can mobilize, as long as you're going gently and slowly. So we're opening a bit of space, but without pain, with integration, you know, and also structure and strength around the space as we put it into the body. Now, from here, the stretch that we're looking for through the hamstrings begins around the sitting bones and passes through to below the base of the knee joint. So again, as we're moving through, we move slowly and we try to connect through the inside of the hip joint, keeping it turning, rotating outwards as much as possible, and little by little opening from the sitting bone there towards the heel. Yeah. So now we might not have a straight leg, that doesn't matter. I'm just showing it how it happens in my body, but it didn't used to happen to that range of movement, that there is there today. And it could very well be that once again, we're just supporting the weight of the leg with a resistance band or a yoga strap. That's also very good. And then you can just see here a little bit, I turn, I'm exaggerating it so that you can see it, I hope. I turn the leg out at the hip joint, and then from there I reach through from the sitting bone to the heel. I turn out at the hip and reach through. But my own movement in that might be really tiny like that. Not big like I'm demonstrating it so you can see it. So now here we are, in our Supta Hasta Padangustasana, our supine hand to leg stretch, literally. And it might be that that lower leg is going to reach away as well. But avoiding doing that if it spoils what's happening in the upper leg. So after all of that, we've just about pretty much finished doing all of that opening for the lower body. And we might think we just again balance out what we've been doing by bringing the legs in, and we just have a little circle through on the hips and relaxing in the hip joints. And then how about from here, we're going to just lengthen the legs away. You get that great big long reach through the body, reaching up, reaching down, and just allowing muscles to engage around the spine, all through the back, into the arms, into the legs. And then here for a few moments, we could relax. We could be in the pentagram with the arms and the legs mirroring one another, V shapes up above the head and below the pelvis, or the arms can roll out at the side, just relaxing. Just being aware of your breath, the quality of your breath here as the body begins to really open and to release. And the body begins to really deeply open, often quite an unusual, special quality of energy emerging. And this is really part of the yoga that we're generating, the union that we're generating. And as well, you may feel that your breath and the quality of your breath has changed a little. It may be deeper, it may be freer, maybe a little bit more energized. It's being aware of how the energy of the breath manifests in the chest, of course. And then also just the energy that we might be able to find behind the forehead, beneath the crown of the head. Just breathing there, breath or two longer. And then as you're ready, let's think about rolling over, coming onto one side. So now ideally, we come onto the side so the spine gets a chance to settle, and then away from the side, we just press up towards it. That tends to be a good way to come up. And then here we're going to think about coming into Viabhadrasana. So that's going to be a position with the soles of the feet together and the knees going out to the side. And it's often the case with Viabhadrasana, a bound angle position, that sitting up on a block or something like I'm using with a little balance pad here at the moment, is quite helpful because it gives you a little bit more space in your hip joints. And although we've already been working to release around the hip joints, we're going to do a little bit more of that by rolling our spine around. So we're just rolling back, lifting up from the tailbone, opening upwards and forwards, and then rolling back towards the side again. And letting the movement be, so sometimes people are just very much rocking the hip on the thigh bone, but seeing if you can really integrate, as you might be able to see I'm doing, the spine in this little practice, yeah? And then after a few breaths in one direction, we think about just taking that through a few breaths in the opposite direction, all the way through, like that. Yeah. Good. And just rolling back and up and through. And then from here, we're going to put ourselves into a flowing forwards, or backwards rather, as I'm going, and then forwards and upwards. And this works with a lot of abdominal strength. So hollowing in the lower abdomen, navel drawing to the spine, breastbone hugs back, and then lifting from the base of the spine, holding the lower abdomen hollowed, navel to the spine, lifting up over the front of the tailbone, front of the sacrum, front of the spine and the back of the waist, all the way to the crown. And letting the spine and the ribcage integrate, and then the neck follows. And then rolling again. So what I will often see is people lift from the base of the spine and then into the neck. So you might be able to see a dramatic difference between that and what I was doing, or that and what I'm just about to do, where I integrate, holding on to my abdominal strength, even though the abdomen is stretching, integrate through the spine in the rib cage there. Mm-hmm. So into this, if you feel comfortable, if you feel ready, and if you feel balanced, then you can add a bit of a bigger arm movement. So reach forward, and then a great big, as if your wings are flapping, opening the chest and lifting up and back. Now, if this is quite destabilizing, especially if you have hopped up onto a block, you could always let the legs extend into a V shape. So now there's no need to, or you could have the knees bent. This would be even more stable and less likely to be a challenge to the hamstrings. And we can gradually think as well about just folding the arms across the chest, breathing out, and then breathing in a great big opening upwards and outwards and potentially backwards. And then your other arm could fold in front. Out breath. And then again, lifting up. It's really extended, lifted, opened position. Now, where possibly people see the movement a lot in the arms, but if you watch really carefully, I'm letting my spine flow and then adding in the arm movements. And I exaggerated that delay in the arm movements that time. It's more like that, so it's quicker. But if the arms, the weight of the arms, so if I did it differently, the arms have gone through, and now my spine is locked. So I try to really flow my spine and then extend into my arms. And we've got the last one coming up here, out breath, and then the spine, and then it's moments later, all through into the arms, and then just relaxing. So in theory, that's really quite an energizing little practice. And we're going to, from there, in fact, work with some more energy, and you can send the hips back and towards the heels to begin with. But we're gradually going to be coming into the cat stretch. So let's just reach back to open the spine, and to just check in with our breathing and allowing our breath for a few moments here to settle and to relax everyone. And then once again, as you feel ready, we're going to draw ourselves forwards to the all fours. So nice deep lift in the lower abdomen, navel drawing to the spine, breastbone hugs to the spine, collarbones open and the shoulder blades just moving down the back there. And then with the cat stretch, it's the sense of the lift in the muscles directly in front of the tailbone, lifting in the lower abdomen. Navel draws to the spine and the breastbone hugs up and back. That's our exhalation. And then with our inhalation, the tailbone reaches back, the lower abdomen keeps lifted, the navel is drawn to the spine. Breastbone keeps hugging back towards the spine. So the breastbone and spine, in a sense, they track one another. But it means that you keep the breastbone hugged back to the spine. And rolling. And rolling. So let's do one more round of the breath here. Viabhadrasana, this cat stretch. And as we're in the upward facing cat this time, let's lengthen back, holding the front of the spine as open as we can, for as long as we can, sides of the waist opening, sides of the ribs opening. We've just gone back and now we're going to, again, just let go and relax for a moment or two here, just absorbing the energy of what we've been doing. So in many ways, this work with the spine is at that psycho-energetic level that yoga really specializes in. So dynamic. Body doesn't have to be leaping and jumping around for that dynamism to come through. But it's working with the breath and working with the spine. It's a certain kind of dynamic quality. Now here, as we ready again, we're going to come through towards our all fours position. So lower abdomen lifted, navel drawn to the spine, breastbone hugs back to the spine, and the shoulder blades lift down the back. So collarbones in theory, nice and open here. And it looks as though my back's sagging because my top is sagging. But if I curl that up, then maybe I might look longer and more sleek. It wouldn't be a bad thing. So now, as you're ready, how about keeping the abdominal muscles really lifted? We're going to reach back towards our right foot. Now, as the thigh bone comes out, there will be a tendency just to go sagging away. And I watch people doing other people's YouTube videos and I see them sagging away. And I'm thinking, I hope people don't do that when they're watching my YouTube videos. See if it's possible to really maintain a band of strength here between the base of the rib cage and the pelvis, the crests of the hip bones right here. So it's like a belt, and it is, the muscles function like a belt. They wrap right around the waist. They can hug in towards the spine. And try to hold on to this because it does make a crucial difference to the activity of the spine and the energy that we experience through the spine, as well as, in fact, to how much we strengthen our bodies and how effective our movement is at that level as well. And there's no reason for not gaining healthy strength in a yoga practice, as well as spiritual and mental strength. You know. So now we're going to, as we reach back into this heel, try to get a good pull up through the muscles in the back of the hip, so the gluteal muscles again. But we try to get a pull up from this region here. So right from the low glutes into the main glutes, glute strength meets lower back strength, this section's still working. We get that press back, thinking about pulling up through your kneecap, keep the kneecap lifted towards the front of the hip, keep the inside of the kneecap lifted. And then you get this long stretch, you just balance out your all fours position with the weight in the wrists and the weight in that left knee, holding your pelvis steady and using the strength that we've just thought about between the lower back and the gluteal muscles across the front of the body and pulling the kneecap up so the muscles in the front of your thigh are working to help you raise that leg and your right hip stays down. And then from here, it might be that you reach long as well into your left arm. And then from here, we might come back to our cat stretch action, rounding on exhalation and breathing in to, again, unfold through the spine. Feel the strength between the lower back and the glutes, pulling up through the front of the leg. And your shoulder blade keeps bedding down your back. So you're rolling through the spine, one action. Arm and legs come in, another action. unfurling through the spine, arm and leg reaches through. Back is strong, your glutes are working. So upper back is working. So rolling through and reach. Now if it's too strong with the arm going, just bring the arm to the mat. So rolling through, back works, glutes work. And then we're going to release and send the hip back, hips back, and towards the heels. Let's just relax there. Breathing. Just releasing. And letting down. Good. So quite hard work, really, these extended cat practices. Now from here, of course, it may be good news or bad news, but we need to do that to the other side. So it's a nice deep lift through the lower abdominal muscles, navel to the spine, breastbone hugs through to the spine, shoulder blades move down the back. So we need this essential strength wrapping around our spine, encircling the spine. Literally a cylinder of strength around the ribs, literally a cylinder of strength around the waist. My top possibly staying in position, possibly not, serious. And then from here, as we're ready, we're going to think about stretching back into the left leg. So again, as soon as the left thigh comes out, the spine is very likely to do stuff like this. But, you know, if we think very hard, and we keep our abdominal muscles working between the ribs and the pelvis, and we remember that we've got lower back stabilizer muscles, and also to support our pelvis, we've got our gluteal muscles. So we try to drop through those low glutes below the bottom line, and then the main glutes through the bottom itself. And then we've got that reach backwards and forwards. So between the lower back and the base of the glutes, try to feel the strength in the team. We're trying to keep the front of the kneecap drawing up towards the front of the hip, and the muscles on the inside of the knee doing the same thing. So this long stretch, as well as we reach back, reach into the heel, reach into the crown of the head, should stimulate the core. And we're going to try and hold on to that core stimulation work at the maximum intensity, even though you don't need to as you come into the squared up all fours. But as you raise the leg, you need that intense work in your glutes and the core. So I'm still working through the front of the thigh, inside leg, back of leg, glutes. And then from here, this arm can reach forward, shoulder blade draws down the back as much as it can. And from here, it's rolling through the spine. If you feel ready, elbow and knee move towards each other. And breathing in, unfold through the spine and reaching long into that diagonal. So you roll through the spine action, elbow to knee, unroll through the spine action, and then arm and leg reaching back. So if it's too much with the arm and the leg going, and it does require a lot of stabilization, one more to go. You bring that right hand into the mat and flow through. You're trying to keep the weight even though in the arms if you're doing that, rather than veering it to counterweight the working leg. And then again, we're going to reach right back, and we probably all feel ready for a rest after that particular sequence. So we drop back and allow the breath to relax. Let our exhalations lengthen, let our inhalations calm down. Arms and shoulders can release. You can relax the weight of the arms into the floor. Can come into full child if that feels comfortable for the neck. If not, just keep the arms forwards. So another 2 or 3 breaths here, just settling, just absorbing everything that we've been doing. Good. And then gradually, gently, we're going to think about moving through towards the downward facing dog. So that will involve The arms coming forwards. And again, that powerful lift in the lower abdomen. I let my hands draw inwards towards my knees again a little bit. So, right angles, back of shoulder joint, back of knee, front of hip. And then from this position, toes tuck under. And then I'm thinking again about lots of deep abdominal strength and the spine able to lengthen in the cylinder of the core muscles. I reach back. And again, I draw my shoulder blades up the back. I hold on to that strength between the base of the ribs and the crests of the hip bones in the front of the body. Powerful lift in the lower abdomen. And then we're right back again to our hamstring opening that we already practiced lying on the mat. So this is where, again, if you think about releasing through your inside hip, inside knee arm, you thought about really opening through the inside leg as well as the back of them. So we don't have to straighten the knees. They may straighten, they may not straighten. Doesn't matter. You just work where we actually are. And then, again, it sometimes feels very helpful to roll through the feet, pressing down into one heel and drawing through. Just breathing here. And then we're going to work through the last breath or so. And in fact, from here, we're going to walk the upper body back towards our legs. Forward bend just for a moment. And then, or for 2 or 3 breaths, and then rolling up to standing. So I need to, at this stage, adjust my camera position. So you might be in your forward bend for a moment or two longer, whilst I get my technical side, such as that may be, sorted out. And just get a view of my hair. So now, as we're ready, that might be, I hope, sorted out. And I'm going to just roll up the twister and forward bend towards standing. And then being in the standing, we're going to think about, it's getting a little dark actually, we're going to think about a little bit of warrior. So if we're at the back end of your mat, so you've got most of the mat in front of you, it doesn't matter which way you're standing, but just have most of the mat in front of you. And then from here, we're going to breathe in, breathe out, and step our right leg forwards. So just like this. So we step forward. And then a little bit of opening front and back through the legs. Like just a little bit of front and back opening. Now, it's usually harder to get the back leg to open. So just that we tend to just lunge into the front leg, so much easier just to do that. But ideally, we're going to keep the weight relatively evenly distributed between the front leg and the back, in part because that's how we'll be able to really release the spine right from the tailbone upwards. But also, it's very good for us, generally speaking, to get a little bit of opening there in the hip flexors as well. So now as we come into this lunge, back leg's going to open away. Try to keep our pelvis open. We already were practicing on a bit of space, hip joints, pelvis, spine. We did that when we were sitting down. We use a bit of lower abdominal strength again, midsection. Breastbone hugs to the spine. And then from here, how about we're going to breathe in, bring our arms up. We can just pass back down to Namaste. Now in Namaste, we've already been here as well, everybody. We're going to breathe in, lift lovely and tall through our whole spine up to go back, arms traveling back. We've thought about how to do this, and then breathing out, we're coming through. So we need to get the spine to really move, just that split second before the arms come into their maximum range. And then we'll feel that we're opening so much more effectively. Just hardly even changed it, but miraculously we're that bit more flexible. So then, again, how about we give this one more flow, everyone? And so we breathe in. And breathing out, we'll come back again there to our Namaste. So we're going to keep pressing this hip forward, i.e. your left hip. And as that happens, we're going to, in a gentle way, with lots of length and height through the spine, gently, gently twist towards our front leg, which is probably our right leg. So now here, as we're ready, we're going to, again, open the arms. This may be a little bit challenging. You might not be in the full twist. It doesn't matter. We just come to where it feels reasonable for us. Now, even if we're not in the full twist, we can probably still slice our left arm down to the outside of the right leg and a little bit hinge forward at the hips. So not dramatically. Keep stretching and pressing into your back heel. It's that long reach into the back leg. Pull up in the glutes on that back leg. Pull up through the kneecap, front of the thigh for strength. And then once again, as you're ready, we're just going to lift up out of that. Out breath. Let's breathe in, reach up. Breathe out. We're going to pass back to Namaste. And from here, we're going to step that back leg forwards to meet the front leg. Utkatasana. And then breathing in away from Utkatasana and out breath, the arms coming down to the side. So then we need to probably do that to our second side. So let's just from here stand up really nice and tall. We need to draw up through this front thigh, kneecap, inside knee, glutes pulling up as well. Because this time we're going to step the right leg back. So we need lots of stability in that front leg. Shouldn't be too hard to step back. And if you're not sure, think you might fall over, just do a little step, slide the foot back, slide, 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 and then transfer the weight. So hopefully that will be all right. But if you've got the stability here and the strength in the back of your leg, tall, 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 tall. And then we get that step away. You can see how I'm bracing my body opposite direction and using lots of strength still in the back of the leg and the glutes, even though I'm coming into this squat. I reach back and now I've transferred my weight back. Yes? So from here again, a little bit of opening through the hips, lengthening into that back leg. So it's not dissimilar to what we did in the all fours, where we were getting that powerful stretch into the leg behind. And with the back leg, people often don't use the front of the knee. They don't lift in the kneecap. They don't lift on the inside leg. But it's worthwhile getting that strength, getting that stability, especially in these stretched positions. I mean, it does give you a nice lengthened strength, a nice lengthened line to the leg that is still strong. But it's also going to give you that strength and stability to feel confident in your yoga position. When the legs are strong, the spine feels happier to lift up and lengthen. Each vertebra releasing away from the one below. Lower abdomen strength here, even though there's a stretch, we stay strong. Back. And then as we're ready, we can breathe in and bring our arms up like that. Yeah. And as we are ready, we're coming through into our Namaste position. So I'm going to put some lights on in a minute now. And as we are ready, we breathe in to lift up through our spine, opening the arms wide, and breathing out, we flow back. Yeah. But we did 4 breaths on the first side. So we're breathing in. And then breathing in. And then inhalation, lift through the whole spine. And then exhalation. And then one more. And then exhalation. So spine super, super, super tall, especially the waist opening. And then from here, we swing that right hip forward a little bit to facilitate coming here into our twist, keeping the back knee strong, pulling up through that back kneecap inside of the knee. And that will give you stability quite a lot. And then the arms can open front and back. So as I was saying on the front side, we don't have to be in such a strong twist. It can be softer. Probably even if it's softer, you'll still be able to get this hand to at least reach the thigh. And then we hinge in. Or of course you can be more spiraled through the spine. That's it. So Parivriti Padasana, revolved, wide-angled position. And then once again, to really breathing out to release that. Side extension. and twist, breathing in to lift up. Now here, we're going to think about, can we step back? So hands come in, pull up through the thigh muscles, lift through the kneecaps both sides, lift up through your core to step back. And again, Garudasana, and this time we're going to flow forwards and downwards into Tolasana again. So just breathing there, breathing, letting the spine lengthen. Nice way. Good. So of course, if it feels too far away, if you've got bricks or blocks, you can bring them in to give you a bit of support. If you haven't got bricks or blocks, you can just use your thighs instead to give you a bit of support. Yeah? Now, once again, that's deep lifting the abdominal muscles. When you breathe in, roll up through our spine. Arms can circulate, and with the exhalation, arms come down. So again, just a moment or two here to breathe and to be. And then, having centered, which is important, because we're going to think about now coming into a regal balance. I think possibly manage with lighting that we have. Yes, I hope so. So from here, we're going to just think about, so we've already a little bit practiced for our eagle when we were sitting down. We went wide like this. So this is our flying eagle position. And we can cross the arms over the chest on the exhalation. Breathing in our flying eagle position. And breathing out, we can cross the arms over the chest. But as you may know, that's one version of eagle. And a bit more advanced version of eagle where we could actually already be coming down into a squat. Now we already did our deep squat with Garudasana, so it's very similar, but we're going to cross the arms under one another. So the right arm comes under the left arm, we bend at the elbows so the backs of the hands come together, fingertips of the right hand slip through onto the left palm, and here we are in this position. Now the arms are directly in front of our eyes. At the moment that's pretty fine because we're standing on both feet, but when we're in the eagle balance that will be more challenging to balance. So we're just warning ourselves that we haven't got our direct vision in front of us when we get into those eagle arms. So again, we draw up, let our thigh muscles be strong, our kneecaps lift, and then again we come down, squat against the lift in the muscles, so stay strong in the leg muscles as you come down. Now the left arm passes under the right arm, and backs of the hands come together, and then the left hand slips over, slips around like that. So again, the arms are in theory in front of our face. We might be able to create those right angles beneath the shoulders, insides of the elbows, but it doesn't matter. Arms can be softer. That feels better. So now then, as you're ready, we're going to breathe in, flying, and then on the exhalation, we're going to think about transferring the weight to our left leg. And so it's a one-legged squat. Let's just fold the arms across the front of the chest as we cross the right leg over the left, and we might tuck the toes behind. So there's our exhalation. We could breathe in here, breathe out. And then once again, we could breathe in, come through to our flying eagle. Now we might just do a little rise through our feet. And then again, we're transferring the weight towards our right leg, floating up in our left leg this time, coming into the eagle legs, the Garudasana, and the arms doing the softer version of Garudasana. And then once again, as we're ready, we're uncrossing, drawing up through our leg muscles, reach up and fly, possibly. Pull up through the backs of your legs and your glutes working to get that rise. And then lowering, and then the weight transfers towards our left leg, We pass down into a one-legged squat, cross the right leg over, and then if you want to, passing the right arm under the left arm this time, and the hands come through. So it's our round of the breath here. Inhalation and exhalation. And then again, we're uncrossing on our inhalation, and you've got your rise, yeah? And then lowering, keep the tools through your spine. And then with the exhalation, this is the last one, we're coming into this one-legged squat to our right side, crossing our left leg over. And then if we wanted to, that more complex bind through the arms. So here again, our breathing, inhalation and exhalation. And then once again, it's really quite hard to balance. And then again, the rise, if you want to, just your flying eagle, when you add in your rise, and then coming back down, landing, arms coming into the side. So let's just breathe here, namaste. And allowing our body to just settle in this position. That's it. And then we're going to, as I said at the start, there's this possibility to come into the Warrior III. I think possibly at this stage now, we do need a bit more light onto the ceiling. I'm not sure that that's tremendously much better. Let's see if that helps more. It's a problem with lives. So hopefully it's reasonable. It's possibly a little bit better. So I forgot about that the light was changing. Never mind. So with the eagle, we're going to think about being, again, pretty tall. We might need to come more towards the front midpoint on our mat. So again, it's slightly tricky with the space here. So the idea will be breathing in, and then as you're ready, then come into our one-legged squat, crossing the arms, and the right leg passes over the left leg. So just in that Garudasana. And then from here, we're going to lift out of Garudasana, but rather than putting the foot back to the floor, we're going to think about sending it behind us. Now, we did this in the all fours. We're hinging over the thigh bone, powerful lift in the lower abdominal muscles to be able to do that. We need to bring that left sitting bone over the left heel. Reach back into the back leg, so strength between the lower back and the gluteal muscles in the back of the body. Spine really long, and strength between the ribs and the pelvis. The arms can go wide or the arms can go out. And you're lifting the trunk of the body away from the floor. You're not going down, you're going out. Outwards, parallel to the floor. Going to bring the back leg down, pass through our Warrior One, where we were before. And then once again, we can possibly step forwards, Utkatasana, where we've been before. We can stretch up and then breathe out, pass back down again to Namaste. So tricky, but possible. What happens with people in the eagle, so I'm just demonstrating, when people are coming into the Tolasana or the Warrior III, the T-shaped position, they have a perception of going down. If I go down and I've lost all my power, it's not really about going down. It's about changing your direction against gravity. And if you're changing your direction against gravity, you need to be lifted, not going down.
So it's all the strength between here and here that we worked on, and here. So we can have a look at it now on the left side. So here we are, nice and tall through the legs. So strength pulling up through the legs, kneecaps, fronts of the insides, glutes, strength, lower back to glutes, center. Spine really free and long. So again, this is how we get this yoga energy. The spine is free, it's flowing, it's long. The muscles around it are strong, but the energy can flow. So here we are. We're going to breathe in, flying eagle, and breathing out. We're going to bring the weight across this time now onto the right leg, crossing the left leg over the right leg, and then passing the left arm under the right arm to find our Garudasana, our eagle. Breathing. Then as you're ready, we're uncrossing the legs, uncrossing the arms, and instead of putting that foot onto the floor the way we did before, we're going to hinge over, so keeping that powerful lift lower abdomen, reach out through your upper body against gravity, bring your right sitting bone above your right heel, long line through the body, reaching back is the easiest one. If you feel ready, the arms come side, and then the arms, if you've got space, come forwards. So we're breathing, stretching our spine, and then we reach into the back leg, we let it come down, and we lift up through our whole spine. Here we are again, warrior one. So then, out breath, hands can come together, and then we can breathe in to prepare. We're going to breathe out, step up, passing into our Garudasana, and again, we can just flow down. We can let the arms reach up and back and behind us again. Moving from the base of the spine, a nice halfway lift, reach out and out through the upper body. Out breath to fall down again, head and neck can release. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's walk back with our legs. Knees can bend. You can press the hands into the floor. Lots of lift through the shoulder blades, through the ribs, through the waist, through the hips. Breathing. Just being here, allowing the spine to let go. Letting go, and then as you're ready, with an exhalation, let's bring the knees to the mat. Let our knees go out to the sides.
Okay, I found this on the web. Let's bring money to the night. Check it out.
Sorry about that. So computer speaking to me, for no reason. We're going to send the hips back in towards the heels, and the knees moving out to the sides, and then tailbone reaching back, sacrum lengthening forward, spine above the breastbone lengthening forward, reaching into the fingertips and breathing here. So we could, if we felt that we were too low down, it's too strong a stretch through the inside legs, we could pop a little cushion or pillow underneath. We could stack a couple of blocks underneath us here, just to support our body weight away from the hip joints to make it easier. So a few breaths here, letting the body soften and let go. And then as you're ready, we're going to just walk the hands back in towards our legs. We can let inside legs come together. And then let's just bring ourselves down onto the mat. So as we roll down through the spine, you might like to again come into a wide position through the legs. You can, of course, support that position if it feels a little strong with cushions or pillows or bricks or blocks. Come on down like that, and letting the legs move off to the side, a little bit of space through the waist. if it's comfortable, the arms can move up and back. They can open out to the sides, so just roll open gently. And if you feel that you've had enough, of course, just simply bring the legs into a parallel position, or if when you feel you've had enough, if you didn't want to be in the wide leg position, and sliding the legs away. So if that feels more comfortable to you, just come into that relaxation position. At this stage in the practice, we've really worked very dynamically with the body, and we've got the energy flowing through the spine, worked with that in conjunction with the energy of the breath. We've released deep held tensions within the body and allowed the body and the emotions of the body and the energy of the body to, align more elementally with one another without so much overlay of experience in their pattern. And also, as the mind has had to think quite a lot about the movements that we've been doing, again, we've detached from things that may have been working through the mind before. There's a break, a little gap. And again, the mind may feel more centered and also more, its energy more channeled to within the body and the energy of the body, the life that is our life, the living presence that is our presence here on the planet. And just for a few moments, seeing if you can continue to absorb the effects of the yoga practice, simply being within the body, being in the energy of the body as it flows at present. Simply allowing the mind to rest within the body and to be with the body and the living presence. You maybe simply follow the flow of the breath into the body and again out of the body. Tide of the breath. Honor the life energy of the breath. Simply being for a few moments longer. And in that state of being, acknowledging, owning any sense of oneness or union that there may be. Acknowledging and owning any positive qualities or sensations that there may be. And gently, gradually, we're going to think about allowing the legs to come back towards the midline of the body, legs coming parallel, and relaxing the weight of the back into the mat, broadening through the hips and the waist and the ribs and the shoulders. Just allowing the breath to begin to adjust in length and speed towards something more suited again to movement and to activity. And allowing your senses to begin to re-engage again with the physical environment where you actually are located. So sense of sight moving out into your environment and sense of hearing moving out into the wider space within your environment again. Just knowing the sensations over the surface of the body, the air and the skin, and the clothing and the skin, contact of the body with the earth and the mat beneath you at present. And just feeling that your consciousness, your energy is actually within the surface of the body, that you're contained within that length and breadth and depth of space that is the physical body again, just everything in that one space, ready to move safely again through the world that surrounds us. So here we can always hug the legs in and towards us and just circling the hips on the mat 2 or 3 times in one direction. And then we can think about circling through 2 or 3 times in the opposite direction. Good. And it might be quite nice just to breathe in, get a nice stretch up into the legs, back into the arms. Out breath to fold down again, relaxing back into the mat. Inhalation to reach up and away again. Folding down, and a last breath here. Just breathe in, lots of space through the spine, within the breath, in the arms, in the legs, and again, out breath, two, down. So let's think about rolling over, coming onto one side, just allowing our spines to settle there for a moment, and then away from the side, rolling up through the spine towards seated again. Om Shanti Namaste. Thank you for watching, and thank you for following this practice with me if you've come all this way. And I hope that you've enjoyed the yoga practice today. I have enjoyed teaching it. This is Movement Style, and my name is Caroline, and I hope to see you again soon on Movement Style. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.